It is Thursday, January 11th, and the Splash Zone is back in your life. I am Matt Modi with my 4 favorite NBA player props for tonight's NBA betting slate. If you're new to my channel, you're probably wondering why I call it the Splash Zone. It's because we're trying to figure out who's going to splash around in the NBA and get us wet and who is not. Before I can give you today's picks, I do want to do a recap from yesterday, which was awesome. I gave out another 4 picks. We got 3 of those 4 to cash. We end the day 3-1, up 2.40 units, which is great. That brings our entire profit on the entire year. We are up 29 units with an ROI of 19.78%. Incredible success we are having so far on this NBA season. So if you are new to my channel, I would recommend subscribing. If you're not new to my channel and you're not subscribed, would recommend doing that. And regardless, everybody watching would appreciate it. If you could like the video, comment, all that stuff helps me out a ton, especially after I have a good day. One thing I do want to preface before I give you today's picks was there were a lot of plays that I was debating between. Normally, if that happens, I'll give out an honorable mention, but instead what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tweet plays out over the course of the day as injury news gets announced. There were some games that I wanted to target where books didn't have props out yet. So again, I just wanted to make sure that once injury news is announced and once player props get added, I'm going to tweet out plays that I like. So if you're not, I would recommend following me on Twitter. You'll see my Twitter handle in the video right below me at Jedi Modi. There's also a link to it in the comment and in the description of the video. So I don't mention that a ton, but I would recommend following me on Twitter at Jedi Modi. And now that's all we got. Let's get into today's picks. Let's get wet. The first play that we're going to go ahead and lock in here is in the Knicks versus Mavericks game. And we're taking Jaylen Brunson over 26.5 points, -115 odds at BetMGM. Now, I know if you're not new to my channel, I normally try to have a bunch of plus money bangers as my plays. Today, I'm actually going to have 2 non-plus money bangers. That's just how the value ended up shaking out on the board, including this one. I know it's not a plus money banger, but the odds we got at BetMGM at -115, they were so good that I couldn't pass it up. And I didn't want to pump up the number to get better odds just for the sake of doing it. The most important thing here is that we're getting value with the odds, and that is the case here. Now, let me kind of detail that for you. So the closest book that prices this is ESPN Bet, and they have it at -115, so 10 cents higher. Then we have DraftKings at -135. We have Caesars at -129. And then we have the majority of books that don't price 26.5. They price this over under at 27.5. That would be books like FanDuel and BetOnline. So a point above what we are taking the Brunson play at. And at the end of the day, again, the most important thing is the value. So that's why I went with this play at the -115 odds. Also, we do have a revenge spot for Jaylen Brunson against the Mavericks. Granted, he only played the Mavericks once. He's played the Mavericks once so far since he left, and he scored 13 points in a game in which the Knicks got blown out. So I'm not putting too much emphasis on the revenge game narrative. That is just something to point out. The real reason why I like this play, aside from the value, is because Brunson is incredible, and the matchup against the Mavericks is pretty good. But to dial in on Brunson for a little bit, I know this is a smaller sample size, but if you isolate it for the 5 games that he's played with OG and Anunoby, he's played pretty well. So the first game that these two teams played, he missed it. Again, that was their first game together, and that was against the Timberwolves, which is the best defense in the NBA. Then he cashed it in 3 straight games, scoring 31, 29, and 33 points. Then he did miss it last game, but another one you can kind of explain away, that was against the Blazers, and the Knicks won that game by 1,000,000 points, and Brunson only played 26 minutes. So he's been playing well without Quickly and without more so RJ Barrett and with OG Anunoby, who's a much better spot-up shooter. And the Mavs are one of the weaker defenses in the NBA. Now, in terms of net rating, they're not terrible, but in terms of point total props specifically, and this is according to props.cash, they're definitely a defense that you want to target. Props.cash lists the Mavericks as an above average matchup for point props specifically for 4 out of the 5 positions on an NBA court. And the only one that they're not an above average one, they're ranked 14th, which is basically average. So for all those reasons, I like Brunson to have a good game tonight. Hopefully he comes through for us, cashing our first play. Next up, in the Suns versus Lakers game, we're taking Kevin Durant over 26.5 points, -105 odds at ESPN Bet. So the same exact point total, 26.5 this time with Durant. In another similar situation where it just didn't make sense to pump it up because the value that we got where we got it was just so good. Similar to the Brunson play, Every other book that prices this either prices the over 26.5 at way juicier odds, I should say, way higher odds, less favorable odds than what we got it at minus 105, or they price it at over 27.5. Either way, we're getting a good number, over 26.5 at minus 105. And Kevin Durant, KD, has just been amazing this year. On the year, he has gone over 27.5 points in 20 of 30 games, literally doing it in 2/3 of the games that he's played. And there were times, or there's been 3 times this year where he has scored exactly 27. So 23 of 30 games, he's basically been right around this number. And in 7 of those, and he's done it in 7 of 10 games as well. 6 out of 10, he scored 28 or more. And then one time he scored exactly 27. I also like, if you isolate it for the games that he has played with Bradley Beal, which admittedly isn't a lot, he has done it in 7 of 11 games with Beal. So another play where the hit percentage is in our favor. Now, as for the matchup against the Lakers, I will admit, generally, you want to target point guards and guards in general against the Lakers, because that's where they're weaker, is guarding guards. But for this one, I decided to ride with Kevin Durant as opposed to Beal or Booker. A, because the value was way better in terms of the odds on their point props on Durant than it was with the other two. And B, look what Durant has done against the Lakers this year. He's already played the Lakers 3 times, which is kind of crazy. Granted, one of them was in the in-season tournament. But in those 3 games, he scored 39, 38, and 31 points. Obviously going over in all 3. And Beal did play in one of those games as well. So he also has the success with Bradley Beal. So I like riding with Kevin Durant in this one as well. Hopefully the 2 minus money bangers can cash, so we're not out a little bit more than normal. Next up, we are taking, this is in the Nets versus Cavaliers game. Donovan Mitchell over 27.5 points, plus 100 odds at ESPN Bet. Finally, we're getting to a plus money banger, granted as low as a plus money banger can possibly get at plus 100. And I don't want to sound too repetitive here. Another situation where we just could not pass up how good this value was. So most books do price this at 26.5, admittedly. We're getting it at 27, they priced it at 26, but look at the odds at which they price it at. FanDuel prices over 26.5 at minus 154. Caesars at minus 148. DraftKings at minus 150. And then BetOnline does price this at 27.5, and they have the over priced at minus 125, heavily favoring the over. FanDuel also gives an alternate line for 27.5. They price the over at minus 118, the under at minus 104, also heavily favoring the over. And we're getting this at plus 100, even money, which means a 50-50 win percentage. So the books that are favoring the over, that's good for us. So another great price, as you can tell. And this is a situation where we are absolutely going to be fading recent results. The last 4 games, Donovan Mitchell hasn't been great as a scorer. He's gone under in 4 of those, or in all 4 of those games, in 4 straight games. 2 of them, he scored 26, so he was kind of close, but that's still an under. Prior to that, he had been scoring really well. He had gone over this number. If you go back, past, whatever you want to call it, this 4-game stretch, he had gone over in 4 of 5 games, hitting 30 points in 3 of those games as well. What's kind of funny is in matchups in which you would expect Mitchell to struggle, meaning against a good defense, he's played really well. He went over against the Celtics twice. He went over against the Rockets. 3 good defenses. 3 of the games that he went under were against horrible defenses. The Wizards twice and the Spurs. Now, what I do like is that both the Celtics and the Rockets, they have good defenses. The one area in which they struggle are against point guards. So it does make sense why he went over in those games. It's just kind of funny to look at the games he went under versus over. As for this matchup, the Nets defense is not as good as the Celtics or the Rockets. They're also not as bad as the Spurs or the Wizards, but they're definitely a good matchup for guards. So similar to the Rockets and Celtics in that way. Props.cash lists the Nets as the 4th easiest matchup for point guard props specifically. With Garland out, essentially, Mitchell plays the point guard role. He splits it with Craig Porter Jr., but obviously his usage rate is significantly higher. And over the past month, the Nets have given up the 5th most points per game to point guards. So I like targeting Spida in this one. Hopefully, again, these 3-point props come through, or these 3-point total, not 3-pointer, 3-point total props with Durant, Durant, Brunson, and Mitchell come through for us. And then our 4th and final pick of the day in the Suns versus Lakers games. We're going back to this game. Devin Booker over 8.5 assists, plus 180 odds at ESPN Bet. I couldn't go the entire slate without one pumped up prop, pretty juicy plus money banger. And here we have it with Booker assists. Booker has been phenomenal. He's been amazing as a passer this year. So if you look at the entire year and you isolate it just for players that have played enough to qualify, Booker is 7th in the NBA in potential assists per game with 13.8 potential assists per game. That's ahead of James Harden, and that's right behind Chris Paul. So just to give you an idea of the type of company he's in with potential assists. If you just look at total assists, not potential, he's also 7th in the NBA with 7.8, averaging 7.8 assists per game. So a little bit below. So his average is a little bit below the number that we are taking him to get tonight. But I do think that he can get there. He plays a little bit more of the passing facilitator role with both Durant and Beal in the lineup because he's not a true point guard, but they need someone to play that role. Granted, there hasn't been a lot of opportunities for that. They've only played it 6 times together. He's gone over 8.5 assists in 2 of those games. So yeah, not the win percentage that you're looking for, but in one game he had exactly 8, and in another game he had 7. So one time he was right around there. One made jump shot would have cashed this over, and another one he was pretty close. So only 2 games in which he wasn't that close, and he had 5 in each of those 2 games. So he's still passing a pretty decent amount in games that they play together. On the year, he leads the Suns in assist percentage by a wide margin at 34.27 assist rate. And as I mentioned about the matchup against the Lakers, I mentioned this earlier, you definitely want to target generally the point guard point props. I know it's kind of confusing. Point guard point props against the Lakers. But in this one, I went with KD points and I went with Booker assists. 6 of the last 8 point guards against the Lakers have gone over their assist prop over under. That includes CJ McCollum, who had 9, who's kind of a similar player to Booker. He's not a traditional point guard, but he does play a lot of the point guard roles due to the roster construction. CJ McCollum had 9 on an over under of 5.5. So let's hope Booker can come through for us, cashing our juiciest play of the slate. And that's all we got. 4 plays for you guys to lock in. 2 plus money bangers, 2 non. Hopefully we can get all 4 to come through for us. If you are riding with me, make sure to comment and let me know. Other than that, remember to like the video, subscribe, all that good stuff. Appreciate everybody for watching, and have a good one.